It's all about the marginal gains. One of the things that you might not know about me is that I'm a director of Scottish Cycling. We're the governing body for the sport in Scotland and part of British cycling. And as I record this video, Chris Froome is about to win the Tour de France. It'll be his third win and the fourth for Britain since 2012. And before 2012, we'd never won the Tour de France in over 100 editions of the race. So what happened to change that, and what's that got to do with customer experience? I'm going to tell you now. A few things you need to know about cyclists. First, coffee. It's all about the coffee, good coffee. Like to start, before we go out with a decent coffee, and on a nice long training ride, we're going to stop for coffee. And probably when we come back in, we're going to have some coffee. Cheers. So what is it that's made British cycling and British riders so dominant in a sport that we were nowhere in for the best part of 100 years? A big part of that is about detail and thinking differently. And you may be familiar with the concept of marginal gains. You'll hear cycling people talk about the aggregation of marginal gains. Dave Brailsford, who was the head of performance at British Cycling and now the team manager at Team Sky, that's his big thing, the aggregation of marginal gains. What does that mean? Well, marginal gains is about looking at every little thing that you do and looking for opportunities to improve it. So in the world of cycling, for us, that means the bikes that we ride on. Nowadays, millions of pounds get spent on technology that will improve the clothing that riders wear to make them faster. It's all about speed. One of the biggest changes in British cycling was the recruitment of a guy called Tim Kerrison in 2009. Tim's an Aussie and he came from the Australian Institute for Sport, where he was in charge of the swimming programme. What Kerrison did was he spent a year on the road with Team Sky, their first year of racing. And what Kerrison noticed was that cycling teams were doing the same thing they'd always done. No one was innovating. It was the kind of sport where we do what we've always done. There's a lot of tradition in cycling, and the stuff the riders were doing when Kerrison arrived in 2009 wasn't that different to what you'd have found in 1939 or 1959 or even 1979. The sport hadn't progressed, it hadn't moved on. And Kerrison brought his ideas from swimming. That was to do with things like how we train, how we warm up for a race. The other big thing that Kerrison brought in was the concept of a warm down. It's what most other sports do. You'll see footballers running on the pitch at the end of a game to get the lactic acid out of their muscles. And in 2010, 2011, when Sky did this, the other teams mocked them. They thought this was just ridiculous. This isn't what we do in cycling. But fast forward to now, to 2016, and watching the interviews at the end of each stage in this year's Tour de France, every rider that's being interviewed at the end of the race, they're on their turbo trainer warming down. Not so daft now, huh? But in the meantime, with all of these marginal gains, with all of those small improvements that Kerrison's brought to the sport and that Brailsford's enabled to happen, we're kicking ass, we're cleaning up in the Tour. The message from all of this isn't just me riffing on cycling, much as I love the sport. How can you do a Tim Kerrison on your business? How can you look at it as an outsider? Maybe you need to bring that outsider in, someone that will see things differently, that will ask the obvious questions that Kerrison asked. And often you'll find the answer is, well, we just do it this way because that's how it's always been done. That doesn't mean that's how it should be done going forward. Take your business apart, look at everything that you do. It's kind of difficult to find areas where we can improve in 10%. That's not what marginal gains is about, it's about finding the 1%. And if you can find 10 1% improvements, then you're going to change your business. So there's my challenge for you today. And apply those principles that we've learned at British Cycling that have made us the top performing cycling nation in the world. Do that in your business and you could be the top performing business in your sector in the world. So that's it from me today. If there's any questions that you'd like me to answer about customer experience or just how you can make that business a few % better, then drop them into the comments below. Thanks for watching and we'll see you again soon.